What do you want the outcome of the behind the curtain look at the Six Nations to be? Because I think against the discussion we had earlier of the future of the game, how to make people buy into its future more, this feels like a pretty big component of that. So what do you want the outcome of the Netflix insight to be for the game and the players?
I think if you look at the people who produced it, the ones that did Drive to Survive, is it Breakpoint is the tennis one?
Yep.
And the golf one, which I can't remember what it's called. And I think that the whole point of, and I think by all accounts, the engagement in Formula One in particular has gone through the roof. Off the back of it.
Yeah, Drive to Survive is more entertaining than F1.
Yeah, totally.
Jamie watches Drive to Survive, and whenever I talk about F1, he rolls his eyes.
I'm probably the same.
Actually, does
I've
not
never
care.
watched F1, but I watch it and I'm like, yes, another series is out, yes. And I think
what's Gunther doing? What's Gunther doing? Yeah, he actually left Haas.
Yeah, he's just moved.
Gone,
so that's probably where you want it to happen. And I think tennis was probably similar in terms of the documentary is brilliant and creating storylines which you don't necessarily see. I don't know how it's going to work in a team. It's probably my one concern, how you showcase individuals in a team sport is probably the challenge. But I'm the same. I don't necessarily understand NFL, but I've always watched the Hard Knocks documentaries. I'll watch any documentary, any sports documentary.
Have you seen the Wrexham documentary yet?
Yeah.
I think big claim. I think it's the best docuseries ever made.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
The story, the threads they pull on.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's engaging, and I think that's probably the challenge to rugby is how do you get people engaged who don't necessarily watch the game? And I think the hope is, I guess, that people will watch that and it becomes not just rugby people. People will go on Netflix and see it and think, well, I've not really watched rugby. Because I don't play American football. I'm a very average tennis player. I'm a very average golf player. But I watch all of them. And it's probably made me watch more of them. And it's made me watch more sport in general. So I think that's probably the biggest outcome that can come off it is probably, big picture is commercially, will that engage people and they'll see something which they haven't seen before, and the other part is how does it become a more global game? How do you engage people that potentially weren't engaged previously?
So the question that sits behind all that is, do you think the infrastructure, systems and people that operate and run rugby in the UK are prepared for the potential upside that could come from this?
I think there was a reluctance to actually do the documentary. I think they had to all agree, obviously, and I think a couple of home unions were very reluctant to give access to behind the scenes. And I think they obviously agreed in the end. But that kind of narrow-mindedness of like, oh, I don't want it's our little secret, and we don't want the world to know. And it's actually like, well, there's something bigger here, and you're kind of custodians to actually grow this game, even though when you're in it. Like, if someone says to me, oh, you're a custodian, you're growing the game. I don't care about that. When you're a player, you just don't care. You want to play and you want to win and you want to play well. So they have to be. I think the opportunity is massive. There was a premiere and people, all eyes are going to be on it, and the timing of it's great before the Six Nations. And the Six Nations is an amazing competition. Crowds, engagement, fans. But what happens in April? When the Six Nations, when the cameras aren't there, that's the challenge. Is how do you Netflix Six Nations, and how do you keep people really engaged beyond the Six Nations?